Certainly will the believers have succeeded, they who are during their prayer humbly intent, and they who turn away from ill speech, and they who are observant of zakah, and they who guard their private parts, except from their wives or those their right hand possess, for indeed they will not be blamed. But whoever seeks beyond that, then those are the transgressors, and they who are to their trusts and their promises attentive, and they who are carefully maintain their prayers. Those who are the inheritors, who will inherit al-Firdaus, they will abide therein eternally. And certainly did we create man from an extract of clay. Then we have placed him a sperm drop in a firm lodging, i.e. example, the womb. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we made the clot into a lump of flesh, and we made from the lump bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Then indeed, after that, you are to die. So ladies and gentlemen, how far can our nationalities take us? Did we come here to be atheists and nationalists, to eat and to drink all the dirt of this world, to consume all the dirt of this world, and that's it? To not live for the gift that Allah has to provide us day in and day out through prayer, through connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day and even more. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that grants us the spiritual strength to go on in life, to prevent diseases, illnesses, depression, sickness, to prevent us from self-destruction and destruction of other people. As I live in Armenia, as you know, our history, we've gone through so much destruction. A lot of it was due to our own ignorance through history that repeats itself, and a lot of it has to do from outside circumstances. But majority of it is out of my hands, and it is in the hands of Allah. So I have given up many years of that to Allah. It's not in my hands, even though I was brought up to be more nationalistic because I grew up outside of Armenia. But for the past 10 years that I've been living in Armenia, let's put aside what I see day in and day out, the bad, the good, and the ugly from my own people. Let's put that aside. That's not in my hands either. This is, I give it up. It's not, I choose to not associate with the good, the bad, the ugly. However, me living here, there's no need to feel a sense of that nationalism that I wanted or I embraced more when I lived outside of the country, and that pride I felt when people would ask me what is the ethnicity behind my first name and my last name, or when somebody would ask me what my nationality is and I would tell them Armenian, that pride that I would feel. It's not necessary here in Armenia because every moment, every chance I speak my native language. So since I live in Armenia, for me, and it's always been since I was a child because I embraced and learned from all forms of spiritual, religious formalities and doctrines, and then I left, but I never left God in my heart, and I embraced humanity at one point. I'm still in that, as I believe that God created every single one of us. There's a place. Every nation, every culture has its time, and then it ends. There were many amazing civilizations prior, but Allah chose to allow each time frame for each culture and each civilization. So for me, and inshallah for all of you watching, the most important is the liberation of your own spirit and to pass that on to generations to come. Okay? Then indeed you are on the day of resurrection, will be resurrected. So of course this means after death, the spiritual. And we have created above you 7 layered heavens, and never have we been of our creation unaware. So everything has its set laws. Just as we have laws on this earth, there are laws after death. There's realms, there's dimensions, and a lot of those realms and dimensions we can actually feel on this earth. Even though it's not set in permanency. We can go in and out of dimensions and frequencies based off how we feel, how we think, what we associate with, what we don't associate with. When we, stick to clean food, organic food, stay away from, destructive words and music, stay away from destructive people that don't have good intentions from you, and you're strictly living a spiritual life, for example, you feel it on a much higher level of that realms of Jannah, for example, the different realms of heaven. But it's not a permanent thing because we still live on planet Earth and we have our physical duties. We have to eat. We have to provide for ourselves and others. We have to work. We have to live a physical form. But it's very important that we live this balanced life and we are consciously aware of what we are consuming, what is haram, what is halal. And if we make an error, to quickly clean up our error and not it clog our entire body, physical as well as spiritual body, from polluting dirt, aka sins or corruption into our system, because it becomes harder and harder to connect back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this adds to the realms of destruction. Okay, we don't keep that away, shoo it away, sweep it away. So that's that. And we have sent down rain from the sky in a measured amount and settled it in the earth. And indeed we are able to take it away. And we brought forth for you thereby gardens of palm trees and grapevines, in which for you are abundant fruits and from which you eat. There you go. We are supposed to be eating fruits and vegetables. It's getting harder and harder to eat organic because it's becoming more and more expensive. And it's been said that nothing is truly organic anymore because there's pesticides sprayed in the ground, so on and so forth. But mind you, there's still techniques, there's still ways to, balance that out. Just stay away from pork. Eat meat, but make sure it's clean meat. Always say Bismillah right before you eat, which means in the name of Allah, blessed by Allah, and make a prayer, okay? Because we want everything around us to be blessed. Because when we are blessed, or when we are asking for the blessings of Allah, we are giving away certain things on a physical that we cannot deal with. I used to know a girl who was consistently obsessed with this whole organic things of life, and she got to the point where she made herself sick about it, because the more she looked into what's going on with the food from organic expensive supermarkets that she was spending so much money on. I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, if you're blessed and you have the money, go ahead. But she literally became sick. It started as a mental obsession, and then she physically manifested diseases in her body where just too much going on, because she just kept thinking she's going to get sick because of what's been done to the food. For example, in Canada, the pesticides, even I was sick. I can't drink milk in that country. I can't have any cheeses from that country. I can't have any meat I remember the amount of inflammation. I ended up in the hospital a few times. I was forced to become a vegan for 4 years when I lived in Canada, not because of the destruction of animals and so on and so forth. It was because I was literally getting sick from the food. So there's still some, chemicals in the food here in Armenia, but to compare the two, you cannot, because even the vegetables, the cucumbers and tomatoes that I would try in Canada, you can taste the layers of chemicals first. Here, it's not like that. It's still not, and inshallah, never gets corrupted in that manner, but Armenia is still a lot more backwards in terms of that. And let's just hope that, something somehow intervenes and doesn't allow the food to get that corrupted. So, and we brought forth a tree issuing from Mount Sinai, which produces oil and food, such as olives, for those who eat. Zaytun, green and black. I love it. And indeed, for you in livestock is lesson. Yes, we're all here to learn lessons, and I'm always learning lessons. We give you drink from that which is in their bellies, and for you in them are numerous benefits, and from them you eat, and upon them and on ships you are carried. And upon them and on ships you are carried. Sorry, I just repeated that. And we had certainly sent Noah to his people, and he said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than him. Then will you not fear him? Okay, so Allah chose he chose 3 people, He chose Noah, his wife, and his children, and all the animals that he said to Noah bring on the boat that landed on Mount Ararat at that time, to start creation all over again in that region of Mesopotamia and so on and so forth, because there was so much corruption going on in that region. Now, there were lessons that were learned not to repeat certain destructions, but look where we are today, and it's almost as if a reset has happened where exactly the same things are happening. All this technology is taking place, all this satanic stuff is taking place, Satanism is taking over the world, in a sense of through social media, through Hollywood, through everything that's coming from the West. Let's be honest, this is not about racism against that area, but it's just what is happening. That country, that region used to be a Christian country. It's not so Christian anymore, even though they go about that identity, but really it's not, because it's so corrupted with pornography that's sent out into the world. And astaghfirullah. And through the pornography, everything is found in there. Mothers, the role playing between mothers and their children, young girls, young boys, gays, lesbians, rape, every disgusting thing is on there, from religious people having sex. Every disgusting role play is in there, and that is already being sent out to every country in the world who can easily access it free online. And what's happening is it's corrupting people's minds. People who already have mental illnesses are acting out on these things and corrupting little children even more, because they're visually believing what they're seeing, and then they go and do it, for example. Okay, so it's a reset. It's almost repeating itself. And then people ask me why I'm not married and don't have children. Do I really want to bring children in this world? You all see me staying away from everyone, let alone having children in this. Absolutely not. I don't know. Listen, our lives are all in the hands of Allah. We all each individually have a certain specific qadr. Okay? We all come here to do what we're supposed to do. And, if something comes in and tries to distract you from what you are meant to do, it will be taken away from you. People, places, and things. For example, there's a pattern that always happens since I was a little girl. Anybody that I ever have felt a connection to in my life, there's many passerbyers in my life, but the ones that body, mind, and soul spiritually I feel a connection to, they either die on me in my hands or they leave the country. So since I was young, that conditioning of don't get too attached to humans, don't get too attached to people, everything is a fleeting moment. And those fleeting moments of a connection is not for you to remain like that with them. It's for you to be consciously aware of Allah and the message He's trying to give. If people don't experience these things, it's because you're trying to fit in. And maybe it's not your qadr to be spiritual. Maybe your qadr is literally to eat and shit. This is your life experience. And that's fine. That's what you've come to do, but stay away from me. Inshallah, these messages go to you, but I highly doubt you're going to get it. At least not now. Because you're too stuck and clogged up with the eating and the shitting that it's preventing you from going up into the higher levels of consciousness, of awareness of God, All right, let's get back to this. If anybody can tell me they know which surah I'm reading, I didn't share it in the beginning, because I want you guys to let me know in the comments which surah you believe this is. But the eminent among those who disbelieved from his people said, "This is not but a man like yourselves who wishes to take precedence over you. And if Allah had willed to send a messenger, He would have sent down angels. We have not heard of this among our forefathers." Yeah. Well, because, back in the day, they were praising and praying to their ancestors. But really, we don't know. You don't know where your ancestors have gone, which realm. So if you're praying to your ancestors and they are in the belly, in the guts of hell, tormenting, this is the realm you want to be asked to be saved by. This is not a good way to go about it. So they're going to take you down the hellfire as well. He is not but a man possessed with madness, so wait concerning him for a time. What I love about Islam, which is very different from shamanism, which, and ancestral worshipping, which, are pretty much before Islam and, all the religions, the Abrahamic religions, is the individual karma, the kafira, the individual that each and every single one of us has to pay off. For example, in shamanism and ancestral worshipping, you're pretty much taking on the karma of your ancestors. You're taking it upon your own self. You're bringing it upon you, upon this earth, and and that's going to be a judgment for you on the day of judgment. But when you pray to Allah and you don't worship all these ancestors and these fake deities and so on and so forth that were actually humans incarnate that thought and believed that they were God because they surpassed certain survival instincts, okay? They were considered gods then, because people are very animalistic at times, right? So there was a sex god or sex goddess or a goddess of the grains or this or this or this. You're basically bringing on their karma onto you. So that was a collective karma. You don't need that. In Islam, you're not responsible for other people's karma. You're responsible of your own. And I love that. So there's going to be a time in your life, maybe 20 years, 30 years, you're into this ancestral worshipping stuff. And then you just get down on your knees and you just pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you feel clean slate. You feel it. All that heavy responsibilities off your shoulder. Noah said, "My Lord, support me because they have denied me." So we inspired to him construct the ship under our observation and our inspiration, and wherein our command comes and the oven overflows, put into it the ship from each creature 2 mates and your family, except him for whom The decree of destruction has proceeded, and do not address me concerning those who have wronged. Indeed, they are to be drowned. So, this can be found in all the mainstream religions, okay? Now, the story of Noah. And almost every nationality, every culture has embraced this story. Now, if you believe this to be true in your heart, the Noah's Ark and the story on the drowning, and God commanded Noah to create this ship, this boat, why wouldn't we not be judged between right and wrong when we are to die, if there was a judgment here on earth? This is just a prequel of what's to come. So tell me now why I should embrace nationality before spirituality, when every time it's never been an Armenian to save me, or my nationality to save me, or anyone else's nationality to save me. Never. But it's always been Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save me out of the own destruction of the society I was brought up in, the culture, perspectives, and expectations, the wrongdoing from myself or other people placed on me. This is all it is. And when you have boarded the ship, you and those with you then say, praise to Allah who has saved us from the wrongdoing people. Praise to Allah. Every day I praise to Allah that Allah is keeping me away from the wrongdoing people. You know, when they see me, if I see them, nothing, and I don't feel anything. But if there's gonna be some form of diplomacy, hi, bye. This is it. You don't have to associate. You do not have to associate. Anybody who disrespects you, who is causing you harm, you need to remove yourself out of the situation. They're bothering you. Let them be dealt with, Allah. Okay? These things are a crime. And if it's not a crime to you, it should be considered a crime to you. Why would you want to associate yourself to people like that? And this is including those who pretend to be your friends, who are nice to your face, but their eyes squint when they're around because they can't handle your successes. Or when you talk, they give you dirty looks because they're jealous of you. These are your enemies. These are not your friends. They talk behind your back. Those people who come to you and talk bad about other people, let me tell you, when you leave, they're talking bad about you too. If you come to me and you talk bad about somebody you know, and then I see you associating with them, I know 100% you're talking bad about me too. This is humans. This is how they operate. So that's a fair sign. Remove them out of your life, because you will realize how quick the messages and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enter your life and stay in your life. Because those vampires are taking your blessings away. And you're blocking yourself. You don't need that. And say, my Lord, let me land at a blessed landing place, and you are the best to accommodate us. Indeed, in that are signs, and indeed we are ever testing our servants. We are always tested. We are always going to be tested. The more you believe, the more you're going to be tested. Then we have produced after them a generation of others, and we sent among them a messenger from themselves, saying, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. Then will you not fear Him? Fearing Allah doesn't mean that you have to be so scared of everything in life. Fearing Allah means not to go against the things Allah is teaching us through His messengers that He sends us. And if we do make the errors and the mistakes, to pray for forgiveness and to keep that connection with Him alive. The greatest curse is when you cannot even pray to God. This is the greatest curse. And the eminent among His people who disbelieved and denied the meeting of the hereafter, while we had given them the luxury in the worldly life, said, this is not but a man like yourselves. He eats of that from which you eat, and drinks of what you drink. And if you should obey a man like yourselves, indeed you would then be losers. Does he promise you that when you have died and become dust and bones, that you will be brought forth once more? How far is that which you are promised? Example, life is not but our worldly life. We die and we live, but we will not be resurrected. This is the difference between the resurrection after life and the physical. We're not going to be resurrected on the physical. He is not but a man who has invented a lie about Allah, and we will not believe him. Like he's trying to, say the opposite. He said, my Lord, support me because they have denied me. Allah said, after a little they will surely become regretful. So the shriek seized them in truth, and we made them a plant stubble, then away with the wrongdoing people. Then we produced after them other generations. No nation will precede its time of termination. The Armenia today is not the Armenia it once was. The culture of Armenia today is not the culture of what it once was. Do you understand? The culture of United States, America, was not the culture it once was. Yes. Then we sent our messengers in succession. Every time there came to a nation its messenger, they denied him. They denied him. How many people do you see arguing about who's right? Jesus, Islam, Judaism, so on and so forth. And how a religion or this should be and how that should be, how a person should dress, how should act, this. But they themselves are so arrogant and ignorant that they themselves don't even follow or understand the message of Jesus or Muhammad or Moses or Aaron or Abraham or King Solomon. So we made them follow one another to destruction. And this is a great topic to talk about, because they are those who believe Jesus. They believe in Jesus. And then they believe he is God. And so they're not understanding that to have Jesus in your heart, you need to accept every race. That every race is Jesus, is for everyone, not for one race. So how can you be a nationalist and use Christianity or Jesus' name to be a nationalist when Jesus himself said there will be destruction if you do so? When Christianity and Islam says there will be destruction in that nation if you do that. So it's a reoccurring pattern of using a God, since they believe Jesus is God, or a prophet, or the message of God, but it's really it's a satanic concept to believe one nation is above another, one race is above another, one culture is above another. This is not the path of God. This is not the path of God. No prophet came with that ideology. And we made them narrations. So away with the people who do not believe. Away, away, away. Away. Then we sent Moses and his brother Aaron with our signs and clear authority to Pharaoh and his establishment, but they were arrogant and were a haughty people. They said, should we believe two men like ourselves while their people are for us in servitude? I have gone to the regions of Moses and Aaron, and they're buried underground in those regions that I have physically been. I have experienced and seen the arrogance and the ignorance of the people of that region. I haven't spoken about all of it. There's no need, because we know human nature. To Pharaoh and his establishment, but they were arrogant and were a haughty people. They said, should we believe two men like ourselves while there are people for us in servitude? So they denied them and were of those destroyed. And we certainly gave Moses a scripture that perhaps they would be guided. And we made the son of Mary and his mother a sign, and sheltered them with a high grounding level areas and flowing water. I've been to the place where Jesus was baptized. I've been to the place where Moses was buried. Aaron was buried. Allah said, O messengers, eat from the good foods and work righteousness. Indeed, I of what you do am knowing. And indeed, this your religion is one religion. And I am your Lord, so fear me. But they, the people, divided their religion among them into portions and sects, each faction in what it has, rejoicing. So leave them in confusion for a time. Leave them in confusion, because when you are a nationalist and you divide, everything is going to fall to the ground. Now, that does not mean you don't defend your nation if it's about to be attacked. That's a different story. That is a completely different story. You don't have to be a nationalist if someone comes and attacks you in your home. Or says, you know what, I want your house, I want your children, I want your daughters, I want your husbands and wives. You're going to fight back, right? Each faction in what it has rejoice in. So leave them in their confusion. Do they think that what we extend to them of wealth and children is because we hasten for them good things? Rather, they do not perceive. Indeed, they are apprehensive from fear of their Lord, and they who believe in the signs of their Lord, and they who do not associate anything with their Lord. This is going to go on for quite some time. I don't have the entire storage on this phone, so I'm going to end it here. Or let me just read one more. We're going to keep it here because there's a lot going on. So I want this to be a study for you. It's already 33 minutes. I want these words to be a study for you. What do these words mean for you? It's the beginning of 2025. Make a goal list, a list of goals that you want to change within yourself. You want to have more connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to see yourself in a different light. You want to make dua. You want to get down on your knees and you want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you change more of being a better person for what Allah needs you to be, more in accordance to your blueprint of how he created you to be. A servant of him, for him. Closer to him. And anything else that is meaningful to you for the words that I just read to you. What it means to you. How can this help you become more consciously aware of what nationalism and politics does to human beings? The corruption of overly eating, the corruption of destructive mental perceptions of fighting each other about beliefs, when a majority of them is all even wrong. It's just a conditioning. And remember that God told Noah to create the ship because everybody's going under, because they don't deserve to be alive. Do you want these things to repeat itself and you be part of those who drown? No. So in order to save yourselves, it's best to connect to God, however you connect to God if you are not a Muslim and you're watching. But if you are a Muslim, you know how to pray and you continue that praying and get back into journaling, get back into writing things that are important for you, and be clear on your manifestations that are sent from God, okay? Thank you so much. I love you all. Jazakallah khair. I gotta go now. Bye.